I've been in places in my life when choosing to get up and have a shower was a big deal. 11 years ago, woman that I'd been with, we never married, but we've been together for 20 years, she died. It's been a while since I talked about this, so I might get a bit emotional there.
Yeah, fucking hell. In this episode, we sit down with Stephen Locke, the founder of the Hero Program and an executive leadership coach.
If you can find something to do that you love, that you're good at, that the world needs, and you can be paid for, in the middle of that is a really fulfilling life.
In this episode, we talk about how do we build confidence and where do you start if you're in a dark place.
Do you know about the idea of the arrival fallacy?
No, go on, tell me.
It feels relevant. So it's generally, we trick ourselves into thinking, I'll be happy when ... Now the problem with that is you're delaying happiness. I am not capable of being more happy than I am in this moment.
For somebody listening that's in their lowest moment, in their darkest place, what would you say to them?
First thing I would want to say is,
this episode is not to be missed. I hope you enjoy it. We've known each other now a couple of years, is it?
Yeah.
So you hit on me in the gym?
I did, literally, almost. I'm gonna have to explain that.
Go on, you explain it then.
We go to the same gym, I was new to it, and you stand out because you're like, not just taller, but like, there's loads of really fit people at the gym. I'm going to choose my words carefully. But you stood out. And then one day I was in the changing rooms and I'm getting changed and I look up and this guy comes out of the shower and he's ripped and he's got the tattoos and he looks amazing. And because of what I do, I've learned, like, you should tell people, you should say, but even I hesitated. I was like, I'm in the gym. This guy's got a towel around him. But I said, oh, you look amazing or something like that. And for a split second, I think you thought, what? And then realized I was just being like me and just being nice, and then we got talking and it was really cool. Turned out we've got quite a lot in common.
Yeah, it's nice. I haven't paid him to say that, by the way. It's nice to be nice though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's
and
nice
I think
to be nice.
if you think it, you should say.
Yeah.
You should say, or find a way. Not usually in the gym. Toilets.
When you're
toilets,
naked.
Whatever you do.
When you're naked.
When you're naked, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
But it's led to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we got chatting, didn't we? And we found out that we do have a lot in common through various different things. But you are a coach.
Yep.
You are the founder of the Hero Program.
That's right.
And I know my motivations behind what I do. I think I'm genuinely curious, and I think the listeners would be genuinely curious and interested to know the motivation behind starting that. Because I find that most people that get into the act of serving others, there seems to always be quite a common motivator behind that.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing it now, and what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah. So I've been a full-time professional coach almost 2 years. So January the 1st. Prior to that, I had a career in the software industry and then in the health service. So I had a really good national job in the health service, quite well known in that world. And I gave it all up to do coaching. And the motivation, it starts in a few different places. All of my life, I've been in like leadership positions ever since I was a kid. I've often wondered about this. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder when I was like 8 years old and made me captain of the football team. And like, was that they saw something in me, or was it that because they tapped me on the shoulder, I saw something in me? I don't know, but I've always stepped up to help other people, and then I got really interested in like leadership stuff. I've been really lucky through my career to study. I've been to 3 different business schools to study innovation and leadership and improvement theory and stuff like that. Took it really seriously. And then around about after the COVID years, during COVID, I helped to organise the UK government's research response to COVID. So the team that I managed, we did all the data and analytics to help the government plan where to do research. I'm really proud of that, but I was exhausted at the end of it. And it's a weird sliding doors moment. One day I was talking to somebody and they said, have you ever thought about coaching? You'd be good at that. And the next day my boss said to me, what are we doing to help your career? I didn't have any ideas. I said, yeah, would you pay for me to train to be a coach? And I just fell in love with it. And it was like, you'll know the idea of ikigai. So have you come across that term?
The who, sorry?
Ikigai. Sorry. It's a Japanese term which gets messed up in English. It's not quite properly translated, but it basically comes down to if you can find something to do that you love, that you're good at, that the world needs, and you can be paid for in the middle of that is a really fulfilling life. And I don't know, it took me like 30 years of being at work to find that. But once I did, I was like, could I make this could I make a living out of this? I've never run a business in my life. I never sent an invoice in my life until like 3 years ago. So yeah, I just thought I'd try and figure it out, and I applied everything that I knew to try and do it, and it's been pretty successful.
I bet the feeling of sending the invoice for the first time, but then getting paid for the first time, was a cool feeling.
It was amazing. To be honest, the first one as well, because I've learned like quite a lot about innovation. It's all about, what's the next experiment and the next experiment, the next one, and then it grows. We were talking before, weren't we, about consistency?
Yeah.
And you just show up and you do the next thing, and you might fail, but you make it just the right size, and then the next and the next. My first invoice, well, it wasn't even an invoice actually. It was like, can I get anybody to pay me anything to do this? And I put on an online workshop, and I said you could just pay what you want or pay nothing. And I think I got 8 people to show up, and one person paid a £5. And that £5 was like massively meaningful because somebody paid me, and that was that. And now,
now here we are.
Much bigger invoices than
I love it. I love it.
It's cool.
So how do you say the word? It's
Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah.
So how do you believe that people can find their ikigai?
Cool. So this is what I then did over the last couple of years is it took me it was almost 2 years of having a job and doing essentially a side hustle. And then little by little, I went part-time in my job eventually, but just a day a week. And the main reason I did that was so that I could change my online presence and actually say, oh, look, I'm a coach. And then I just tried to figure out if I could make my money back. What I lost on that day, could I make it back? And I did that every month. Then over the next year or so, I had this idea in my head that I think is a Hormozy thing. I'm not entirely sure, but it was basically, if you can make 60% of your income from your side hustle, there's no risk going all in. But I've got 4 kids, a big mortgage, and a bit of a backstory, which has meant that I've had to carry quite a lot.
Yeah.
So for anybody, it's a risk to quit a job where you know you're going to get paid every month, and your wife knows you're going to pay the mortgage and all of that. For me, it felt like there was even more. But after a couple of years of doing it on the side, I hit 60% one month, and then another month, and then another month. And
that's 60% from the side hustle.
Yeah. So I was making 60% of my income from a salary job,
right?
On the side hustle. So I was doing pretty well at that point. And then I had to figure out, am I brave enough to quit? Am I brave enough to actually do this? Which actually came from a combination of being, right, I know I can do it, but also having a particularly awful 2 days of work that made me go, I can't do this anymore. I WhatsApped my wife. I was in this meeting, and I WhatsApped her, and I just said, I think I'm done with this, right? And you get the dots on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And she just sent me the party emoji.
Oh, really? Oh, man.
Right, I can go. But then, I gave myself a good run in to do it. But then when I got going, I thought, well, what's my USP, if you like, or whatever? You've got to have a niche, haven't you? And I realised that what I'd managed to do was partly with the help of understanding coaching. How do you change yourself, change others? But also partly to do with deeper stuff. So most coaching starts with a goal. So you say, somebody will come to somebody like me and they'd say, hey, I want to achieve this, or I want to do that. And you say, okay, now we've got a goal, let's do some coaching. But what I'd done myself was actually spend a load of time figuring out who the hell am I? Like, actually thinking, what at this point in my life, what do I actually believe? What are my actual values? What keeps me well? What makes me happy? And then built a life around that. So I do this whole thing when people come to me where I don't even ask them what their goals are. I mean, vaguely they'll tell me, but I make them do a month's worth of work on, some of it's a bit spiritual. It's like figuring out who you are. And most of us, we don't really do that. We don't take the time to stop and go, what do I actually believe? Not what do I say I believe, or what do I do because I've always done it or whatever. So that's the bit that I think is different. So basically I reverse engineered what I did over 3 years and made it easy for other people to do in sort of 3 to 6 months. And that's what the Hero program is. So
you are 100% right in what you're saying. How often does any of us actually sit down and write down on a piece of paper, what do we want? But more importantly, why do we want it? Mm-hmm. And it's something I speak very often about when I'm going into schools and businesses and the workshops that I deliver, is that you might think that you want something, but then when you actually take the time to understand why, you don't actually want the thing.
Yeah.
And that's why when you work towards that goal, you never actually complete it because you don't have a reason why.
Yeah.
And that's where we have motivation at the highest more often than not at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We set all these New Year's resolutions and all these different goals, but we never actually stopped to think and understand the reason why we want it.
Yeah.
And that's why most New Year's resolutions never actually are achieved, because when motivation drops, they don't have the discipline to achieve it because they didn't have a reason why in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well there's one thing that I say to people fairly often is, I'm sure it's the same in every country, but we're sat in the UK. So you get asked when you're like 14 or 15, what do you want to do for your GCSEs? So then you narrow down to like
three subjects.
Yeah, basically 3 subjects.
Yeah.
And if you choose science, after that, what you're going to do? Well, you're going to do A-levels in science. And then after that, what you're going to do? Well, you're probably going to go into medicine or something similar, aren't you? Or you're going to go into physics or whatever. But essentially, 14-year-old you made some choices, and then you find yourself in the middle part of life going, is this it? Yeah. Like, what happened? Like, I thought I was going to feel good at this point. And that's totally normal. We all do that. But if you can spend a bit of time going, what do I actually think? I've got 2 really interesting things that happened in the last few months with people that I worked with. Took them through exactly the same process. And one of them came to me and said, after they went through that like know yourself part of what I do, came to me and said, do you know what? I've realized I'm happy. I've realized that actually I do actually have everything that I want and everything that matters to me. I'm just not prioritizing it quite right. I was, or rather he said that he was like thinking he ought to, do a podcast or do with this. And he's like, actually, hold on a minute. I really like my life. I'm happy with my family. I live in a nice place. I've got enough money. I'm okay. So he's just adjusted his life a little bit to prioritize the things that make him happy and keep him well. So, but that is an amazing outcome. He's not going to do entirely different.
What was the length of time it took him to realize that?
In his case, it was about 2 weeks.
Wow.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Because he did it properly. He just, I take people through this structured thing, and he just looked at all of the aspects of his life, and there was little things like he wasn't taking a lunch break. He's like, well, hold on a minute. In my job, I can take a lunch break and then I can go for a walk. I love doing that. And so it was really small changes, but a massive change in perspective. He stopped wanting something he didn't have and started valuing what he did have. And that is one of my favorite outcomes. And then within a few weeks, different guy, I have to kind of disguise these things slightly, but because of confidentiality, but he was like drowning in work, like not being productive. So we did some classic like habits stuff. We did some productivity stuff. We helped him with his calendar, cleared some stuff out, all that kind of thing. So he could think. And then when he could think, he started to look at his ambition. And we were talking one day, and he came and said, "Oh, I think I know what I want to aim for." And he said, "I want to do this." And I could feel myself. My eyes went, "What?" And he went, "What's the problem?" I said, "Well, you can do that. Like that's just like the next step in your career. That's not much of an ambition. So what would be beyond that?" And he thought for a moment. He went, "Well, it would be this." I said, "Well, I think we both know that you can achieve that as well, don't we? So what else is there?" And he sat for a moment, and he kind of looked side to side, and he said, "I want to be the best in the world. That's the thing. That's the thing." And in his field, that is achievable.
Are you allowed to say what field is it?
Let's just say research. Like he's a researcher.
Right.
But in a niche kind of, well, it's not that niche actually, but in an area where potentially, if he just structures what he does over the next few years, he really could be the most well-known person in what he does in the whole world. And that's now his goal. But from the same process, you get, I'm happy and I just need to change my lunch break, to this guy's like properly driven, focused. He's got a wall chart with like
where he's going,
8 years plan on it or something like that. So can you tell I love doing this?
Yeah,
it's so cool. These people that you get to meet,
I can imagine.
Phenomenal.
This episode of the Tom's Talks podcast is proudly sponsored by Unthin, the hair growth company that's helping people feel more confident in their own skin. From supplements to topical product, Unthin is deeply rooted in the science behind helping people with a healthy hair and scalp. You can use the code TOM20, that's TOM20 for 20% off at the checkout. Thank you to Unthin to supporting honest conversations around mental health.
I can imagine. I noticed a quote when I was doing a bit of research yesterday on your Instagram. You said confidence isn't a gift, it's a skill, and skills can be learned.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
You and I both know this, right? Let's just tell us so, because we were talking about like the gym earlier. So I've only just started going to the gym. I think I started that maybe 18 months ago, but actually doing it properly a few months ago, and started working with a PT, a coach, because I didn't know what I was doing. I just like, I could vaguely walk in and lift some stuff, genuinely didn't know. So I was a total beginner. And that feels like a lack of confidence. But all I did then was like walk up to somebody, which felt a bit brave, and go, "I think I need some help. Can you recommend somebody?" And that was one of the PTs. He was too busy, recommended somebody else. And so then it's little steps make you confident. So I had maybe over 8 or 9 months been regularly working with a PT. And, so I've only started doing this in my 50s, but a couple of weeks ago, I lifted a 100k deadlift for the first time.
Oh, amazing.
Right? And in the same week, a 70k bench, right?
Incredible.
And from where I started, that's a hell of, I know like relative to other people, that's not huge, but to me, getting that 100 off the ground was hard, really, really hard. And then the next day I come into the gym and I felt like I belonged for the first time, right? After months and months and months of coming. So the confidence arrived eventually after months of just showing up and trying the next thing and trying the next thing and trying the next thing. And now I do feel, I walk in the gym, feel, I actually belong here. I nod at people a little bit more and stuff.
Well, I look at you and think, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's got his 24/7 outfit on.
Oh God, yeah, I know. Like, probably shouldn't be allowed at my age.
Definitely should be allowed. Definitely should be allowed.
But yeah, so that's what I think is like. I know that to the people I work with, I come across as confident, but actually, and I probably am, but it's only from failing on small things over and over and over and over and over and over again till such point you look around and you go, actually, I know what I'm doing. But then you just set a higher bar and go and try something else like you're doing with this.
It's like the key message there is that start the process and just build up step by step, one day after another, 1% better every day.
Exactly.
It's like, for example, when I started public speaking 7 years ago, And it was even, so 2019, I did my first talk at 23 years old. And in that moment, I thought, oh, I could have done that differently, could have done that differently. And then the more you do it, the better you get, the more confident you become.
Yeah.
And even now, so me and Amy was looking at some reels on TikTok, and it came up as like a time hop. And it was 2 years ago, and Dan came with me. It was at the school that I went to, so it was a really special moment. And it was the moment in which I talk about finding my brother. So it was really powerful reel, really powerful part of my talk. And I looked at it, and this was only 2 years ago. So at this point, I was 4 years in. And I looked and I thought, I cannot believe how much different it is now compared to then.
Yeah.
And that was only 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the length of time I'm taking to say my words, my body language. Like I was looking at that and I was like all over the place. I was so quick in the way that I was moving in my hands, and and I wasn't pausing. It was good, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the worst in the world. But like I compare it now and I'm like, I can't believe how much better it is. But that's because it's like anything. Like 2 years ago, I was doing okay, but they were few and far between. They weren't every day, they weren't even every week. But then it got to from 0 to 4 years, from 4 years to 6 years. And then this last 2 years, it's just gone. And I've been doing them a lot more frequently, so I've been getting a lot better at it, and therefore a lot more confident. But I wasn't as confident as I am now 6 years ago. It's like you in the gym. You've been now 18 months, 2 years into the journey. Where you are now, you weren't this confident 2 years ago.
And with starting the business as well, it's like, I think a mistake that people make is they look at, might be looking at this, watching this thing now and go, right, look at those two blokes. They know what they're doing. And to a certain extent, yes, but we're both just sat here. It's a Sunday going, right, I'm going to show up. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to try this. I've never been on a podcast like this before. And there's a part of my brain that goes, oh, no, I say that slightly different ways. I mentioned it to somebody a couple of days ago, and they went, oh, I couldn't do that, right? And I thought, well, actually, I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to try. I'm going to have a go. And I think the more you do that and just think, I'm going to try, I'm going to try, I'm going to try, what happens is the bar gets raised. So I would have to be put in a situation now, probably same as you, like massively out of my comfort zone for me to step back, whereas if you never do it, never do anything, you don't develop that confidence. So to people watching this, there's a great couple of coaching questions that I like to finish with when I'm talking to people, which is, what's the next step and when are you going to take it? And the next step can be tiny. It can be, right, I'm in bed wishing that I could start that thing or do something. The next step is get out of bed, have a shower. It is that small. And, I've been in places in my life when choosing to get up and have a shower was a big deal, and so, that's confidence is an outcome of doing some stuff. That's what it is. It's not, you don't start with it and then do some stuff. It comes after you do some stuff. And I think it's important to realize that everybody's the same like that.
What's the difference between confidence and ego?
Wow, that's a good question. Never been asked that before. I think ego is when confidence doesn't have a basis in reality, or an ego that's out of control. We all have an ego, we all want to protect our ego because it hurts everybody to get your ego punctured. It doesn't matter who you are. If that happens, you feel the same pain, you feel the same hurt. But there are people who they have a kind of superficial confidence that isn't rooted in reality. They haven't done the work, and therefore it feels a bit fake. And you can go, especially on like social media these days, you can go quite a long way. You can make money, you can get a degree of status, you can get contacts and networks and a profile, you can get all of that without actually really knowing a great deal about what you're doing. And cool, you know, we've all got to make a living and feed our families and stuff. However, if you're not doing the inner work yourself, if you're not actually working on yourself and what you think and who you want to be and how you want to show up and what your values are, if you're not doing that, then ultimately it's probably going to burst at some point. So I'd be concerned about somebody that was doing that. There might be a client in 5 years' time. That'd be good.
You think as well with ego, like there's quite often the saying, isn't there, take your ego out of it.
Yeah.
And it's for the outcome, it's for the better outcome for not just you, but for everybody.
Yeah.
And also take your ego out of it, for me, stems from, you know, there's people that do what you do that are better than you, that have done it for longer. And if you have an ego, then you aren't going to ask the relevant questions to those potential people in order to get to the next step in what you want to get to.
Yeah.
And just a really quick example. So with OSI, the furniture business, you know, I want to take it from the revenue that we're doing now, the net profit, to the next level in the next 5 years. And I thought, you know, well, I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to take my ego out of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to find somebody that has done it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay them as a mentor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to learn from them. But how many people do you know that keep that ego and they don't put that aside and ask the necessary questions in order to get to the next step, and they stay where they are because they have an ego and they don't put it aside?
Do you think, ask you a question. So, like, I observe you, and I think you're really good at keeping your ego in check. And I gave you a couple of compliments this morning about the business because we're in here, and you accepted the compliment, but you clearly also were thinking about, well, how do I make it even better? How do I make it even better? You didn't get all puffed up and go, oh yeah. You know, you just didn't do that, which is really healthy, I think. Do you think you were always like that, or have circumstances made you have to confront the limits of your own?
I think my environment has made me like that.
Yeah.
I think I have a dad that is retired now, but started the furniture business OSI. Super driven, super ambitious, very business minded, but sometimes quite egocentric.
Okay.
Love him to bits, and he probably won't like me saying that, but we'll go back to that. My mum is the most selfless, unconditional, humble person that you've ever met.
Yeah.
Doesn't really care about money, or she obviously needs, like, she has a genuine need like everybody.
Yeah.
But like when I talk about, you know, all these different things I'm doing, she's like, "Are you happy?"
Yeah.
Not that she doesn't care, but she just wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
Like, she's not impressed by like the financial side of things.
Yeah.
So I've got two sides there.
Yeah.
And my dad as well. He's not like he loves me unconditionally, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but, and then you've got my wife, Amy. So me and Amy have been together for 5 years. We got married in June. And when I had her, when I first got with Amy, I wasn't where I am now. And she said to me that she would love me regardless of whether I'm doing what I'm doing now, if I just had, you know, if I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
And then my sister, like, all these different people, like, they would not allow me to have an ego.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. Cool. They wouldn't. And if there's ever been an opportunity to have an ego or to be boastful and to be, you know, not modest, then I would be quickly brought back down to earth. So I think my environment is the reason why.
Cool.
But I think also, I will give myself a compliment. I am very self-aware.
Yeah.
I'm very, very self-aware of what I'm saying, how I'm thinking, what I'm doing, and the people around me.
Yeah.
And therefore, I make sure that I keep that ego in check myself.
Yeah.
So I would say those two different things.
I thought about something when you were talking about your mum there. Do you know about the idea of the arrival fallacy?
No, go on, tell me.
Feels relevant. So it's generally we trick ourselves into thinking, I'll be happy when ...
Yeah.
Like, I'll be happy
I have heard of it.
Yeah, when I get the Porsche, or I'll be happy when I get the girl, or I'll be happy when I make a certain, you know, income or whatever. but that point never arrives, because you get there and you go like, all right, now I've got the Porsche, but you know, the guy down the street's got a slightly better one, or you drive it for a little while and then it doesn't look quite as fresh as it did, and it's a bit disappointing. So
all my alloys are fucked.
exactly, yeah. My joke, this is quite funny me talking about this, because I've got like a 10-year-old Volvo that's filthy, because I've been like, anyway, I obviously don't care about cars. But you know, when you get the business or you get whatever, then I'll be happy. Now the problem with that is you're delaying happiness. And there's a quote by Alan Watts that I play on repeat to myself over and over again, which is do something in the only time which ever existed, which is now, right? So I say to myself quite frequently, I am not capable of being more happy than I am in this moment. And by the way, I'm quite happy at the moment. I'm enjoying talking to you. But it sounds a bit odd at first, but when you think about it, like, we just live in now, and then now, and then now. So that imagined future, when you've got all of those things lined up, doesn't exist. It's a useful tool to guide you towards something. But if you're delaying being happy until then, you've made a mistake, because the only time you can be happy is now. And that, I guess, is part of what I try to help people understand, is if you can design a life for yourself in which you're happy in the pursuit of your goals, and that achieving them is nice, but it's just a way marker, it's not the point, then you live a happy life. And I've been guilty of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future far too much in my life. But genuinely, the last 3-4 years or something like that, vast majority of the time, I'm just like, I'm cool, I'm happy. I'm not constantly joyous, but if I ever stop and go, am I okay? Yeah, I am. I'm okay. That's cool. Right, let's keep going. So, I don't know, a bit of a tangent there, but your mum made me think about that. Yeah. So, hi, Tom's mum.
Yeah. Hi, Joe. No, I think you're 100% correct. And again, it's something I talk about quite frequently when I'm doing the workshops in schools. It's that, if you always wait to be happy, then you will never be happy.
Yeah.
And I had a sort of a realization of, when Dan lives in Newcastle, and we'd arranged some guests in Newcastle, some fantastic episodes. And I was driving up to Newcastle, and again, it was a Sunday. Mm-hmm. I'd literally got back from being away for my stepbrother's wedding in America on the Saturday morning, mm-hmm. and I drove up to Newcastle on the Sunday, absolutely knackered, jet lagged. And I don't know why, but when I'm doing long distance journeys, I always just have just all these crazy thoughts and stuff like that. And I was like, if somebody told me tomorrow that I had 6 months to live, would I change anything? No.
Yeah. Wow. That's great to be able to say that.
Absolutely. Because then again, it's a Sunday today.
Yeah.
I went out for my one of my closest friends' 30th last night, and I could have got carried away, could have had loads of drinks and whatever else, but I knew that I had this today, and this means everything to me. So as I'm the happiest when I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I don't want anything else to jeopardize that. But this is it. This is Sunday. Christmas Day was Thursday.
Yeah.
And each to their own. Everybody can do whatever they want to do. But this is what I love doing.
Yeah.
And nothing else is going to come between that.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because it would look like, right, if you just strip away the superficial. So you watch stuff on YouTube. I watch stuff on YouTube all the time, way too much. And you look at it, and if you don't stop and think, you just go, it looks, I guess people are on a pedestal in a way, aren't they? Because they're on your telly or whatever.
Sure.
So, but if you stop and think, how did that thing get made, right? It's a lot of work. It's hard. There's loads to organise, and there's loads to edit, and then you've got to find guests, and it costs money, and there's all sorts of stuff you have to do. And it takes quite a lot of time. It takes more time to do it than what actually gets put out of there. So it's work. It's a lot of work. But if you can be doing something that you love, it doesn't feel like work, doesn't? And we were talking before it started here. I feel like it's quite funny. My job is also my hobby. When I'm not coaching people or whatever, I'm reading books on leadership or self-improvement or whatever. Whenever I'm driving anywhere, I'm listening to podcasts about that. And for a while I would like say to myself, oh, maybe I should probably do some, I should listen to a novel or something. And I do that from time to time, but I just love it. I like genuinely love it all. And it adds value to the people that I try to serve. It's cool, but you've got to design that life and then work towards it. And,
And again, I think people may listen to this and think it's going to happen tomorrow for them.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the confidence piece. It doesn't happen overnight. There's no such thing as an overnight success story. And again, it's not even in relation to success. It's just genuine, like happiness is obviously up and down. It's just about being content in the day to day.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
You've got to work at it. It's like anything. You've got to work at it day by day and just be consistent and just aim for 1% better. And then, eventually you'll get to the point where you think, like I did in the car, I was thinking, fucking hell, if I had 6 months to live, would I change anything? No. My life is, I still have my bad days. It's ups and downs and, but I have a lot more good days than bad days.
Yeah.
And I get to do what I love every single day.
Yeah.
So.
I had a moment there where, like, obviously this is your podcast, mate.
Go for it. Go on.
But there is a topic in my story that we said we would talk about today to do with mental health and overcoming adversity and stuff. And as you were talking there, I just had this flashback to a moment, and I've learned to trust this instinct that if something makes you go, that's important, say something about it. But maybe I should explain the the thing that happened. So 11 years ago, just last summer. The woman that I'd been with, we never married, but we'd been together for 20 years. She died. She was called B, and she was we had 2 kids. I've got a son, Felix, and I've got an adopted daughter, Molly, and it was cancer that took her. And the reason that I think it's come up to me to talk about this is the overnight success thing. So
I'm sorry for your loss as well, mate.
Thank you. It's funny, as I was saying, it's been a while since I talked about this, but I did talk about it quite a lot because I think it's, if you can, you should. It doesn't mean everybody should, but for whatever reason, I'm wired in a way that I'm actually quite private, but I will talk about really personal things if I think it's more important to do that than to not, because I can, so I should. But but it's been a while, so I might get a bit emotional. I don't talk about it that much anymore. But that circumstance, there was a couple of years when you couldn't believe that your luck could get any worse. So we'd been together we met when I was 21, and she died when I was 41. And in the couple of years before that, we met when we were both at university. Then we lived in France, we lived in London, we traveled around Latin America for a year, we did all sorts of stuff. And then we tried to save up money to buy a house. It took us quite a long time to do that. And then, so I'm not great with timelines, but roughly 2 years before she died, we finally managed to find a house. We were living in Ilkley, renting a house, and we couldn't buy one for a while because we were adopting our daughter, and they don't like you moving and stuff. So everything was complicated for years. Oh, I should have mentioned, Bea had cancer twice. So once when my son was 6 months old, she had cervical cancer. So she had to have surgery, which meant we couldn't have any more kids, which is why we adopted Molly. And then we eventually get to a place where we think, things are looking up and we've got enough money and we can buy this nice little house in Benredding near Ilkley. And it just got a little bit delayed. And then, so everything's looking like it's going, on a good trajectory. But the house sale took a while to go through. And just before it was due to happen, she found a lump in her breast, which meant that we couldn't get her insured for life mortgage insurance because it was a pre-existing thing. Had the whole thing gone through 3 weeks before, We genuinely wouldn't have known. She'd have been insured. The next bit of the story would have been different. So anyway, the day we get the keys to our first proper house, she's diagnosed with breast cancer. So I have to walk in. She's obviously, I'm devastated. She's devastated, but she like couldn't really move. I have to go to the estate agent like in a daze to pick up the keys, and then we move house. I've got to tell my family. They were helping us move. It was just, I can't even remember that day. But what should have been, you know, or you build up to be this amazing thing, turned out to be just weird and horrible. And then we get into the house, and we kept getting this like weird smell that kept coming along. So she started treatment, and then I decided to take out the unit where the sink was, to discover that there was a hole big enough for me to climb down, because the sink in the kitchen hadn't been plumbed into anything. And so for maybe 10 years, water had been running under the house. It was full of rats.
Oh, wow.
The joists were so thin it was about to collapse. Luckily, the insurance covered that, but we had to move out while she was getting treatment for about 3 months. We had to move out while it was rebuilt. And then we come back in, and then she goes through, she loses her hair, has to have radical surgery, all that kind of stuff. Then over the next few months, she builds up her strength, things start to get back together, has some tests, we think everything's okay. And then eventually, one day we just went to visit my mum one Sunday, and we had like Sunday lunch, and we're driving back, and she said, I feel like I've lost my appetite. And 3 weeks later, she was dead. So it had spread to her liver. The doctors were amazed that she was walking around, to be honest. So then I find myself with like a mortgage made for two, a full-time job, no childcare, 2 primary school age kids who've just lost their mum. And like, what the hell do you do? And the flashback was to me standing in the garden of that house, just staring at the house. The kids were asleep. I'd managed to get them to sleep. And it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks after she died. And I'm stood there, I'm on my own, and I'm just looking at the house thinking, I don't even know how to pay I don't know how to pay the mortgage. I have nobody to look after the kids so I can work. What am I going to do? And obviously I'm grieving as well. And I stood there, and this thought came out of like nowhere. It didn't come from, I feel like it didn't come from within me. It just came up through the floor, which was, I am damned if I'm going to let a little thing like overwhelming grief get the better of me. And it made me laugh, because that's absurd, isn't it? It made me laugh. But then I was like, no, right, you just have to go forward. And anyway, that was a long story, but
Thank you for sharing that, Matt.
yeah, I think it sort of opens up, you know what you're saying?
Yeah.
Things don't happen overnight. That was like 11 years ago.
And
Look at me now, I'm on a podcast.
No, thank you for sharing that, man. I had a tear in my eye when fucking hell. I mean, you know, you shouldn't compare stories, but I compare losing my brother when he took his own life, which was just over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that was my brother, not my partner, and I didn't have kids, and I was 19, so I can't imagine how hard it must have been. Like, it really makes me feel emotional, because if I lost Amy, I have no idea what I would do. So, yeah, fucking hell.
Well, let's hope
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. But I
take my hat off to you, mate, because to get through that, it must have taken a hell of a lot. So, no, thank you for sharing that.
A lot of grit. And
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
just
yeah.
like one step in front of another. And I was, it is not nice. It is horrible being, you know, rocking your kids to sleep. You know, in the days after that, and just sitting there going like, what's going on? I don't know what to do. I do not know what to do. I was lucky that the place where I lived, the community rallied round. It was like the Waltons or something. It was amazing. They really helped me, and people stepped up. But I trace some of what I do now to that, because, you know, people talk about resilience and things like that. But I was able to say, you know, when people use that phrase, what's the worst that could happen? I go, well, the worst pretty much did happen. You know, I'm in the shit here. Like, I don't, can we swear on it?
Absolutely, yeah.
I am properly
Fucked.
I am fucked because I can't afford this house, and I don't know what to, I keep saying that, I didn't know what to do. But I thought, well, at least I've got the benefit that I had over other people in that situation is if I did have kids, right? That they wake up in the morning and they want shreddies. You know, like, you have to get up. You just can't stay in bed. It's not an option. So that meant that I had to go, and pretty quickly I realised that I had to stop drinking. I actually started smoking at B's funeral.
I remember you told me about the funeral when you got absolutely obliterated.
Absolutely. I don't even know where my kids slept that night, which is not good. But I do know that my mum was
I think it's understandable.
Yeah.
I think people let you off on that one.
Yeah, I do know that my mum was looking after them. I know that. So I was like no. Earlier in the day, they'd said, like, just don't worry.
Yeah.
But I used to smoke when I was younger, and then somebody was smoking. I was like, give me a cigarette. And then I had to give up smoking again because it's addictive, which is ridiculous. But within not very long, like a couple of weeks, I was like, nah, I have to survive for them. So I quit drinking. I ate really healthily. I was already into trail running a bit, but I got really into it. And just started looking after myself. And I think that's where it all starts. It starts internal. You have to find it within yourself to say, right, I am going to do whatever it is, and then you commit to that, and you just keep going. That's what life is. Just keep going. So and from then my life has been blessed in many ways. You know, it really, really has. I'm married now to also Amy, not your Amy. That would be weird.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'm fortunate. I've actually got 4 kids now. I've got 2 step kids as well, Ruben and Isaac, and they're awesome. And Amy's like just a fabulous person. I've been really fortunate the way things have worked out. But it's funny talking to you about it now, because that story obviously is my story. But it's weird. It also feels like it's somebody else. And if you'd said then that I'd be sat here talking to you now, do you know what? I think I'd have believed it.
Really?
You know, and I think the thing to say is, like, most people would say, oh, I wouldn't have believed it. I go, well, actually, yeah, why not? Because that, and maybe you know a bit about this, when you go through something like that, it strips you back. There's no, and to go to the ego thing, there's no room for ego. No. You just got to survive. You've just got to get through whatever pain you're suffering. You just have to get through. And obviously, I wish my kids hadn't lost their mom. I wish, that hadn't happened. At the same time, it's one of the most formative things that's ever happened in my life, because it made me just grit. It just made me have to survive.
Life happens for you and not to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose as well, it depends what story you tell yourself about these things as well. And
it's the mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the mindset.
Which you're good at.
I try to be. You kind of answered my question, yeah, but I'll ask it anyway. The motivation behind this podcast, as I said before, is, Tom's Talks was founded off the back of me losing my brother, him taking his own life, me then being in a really dark place, but managing to overcome it, as you have. I go into schools and businesses, talk about overcoming adversity, and I sat there one day and thought, I'm just one person with one story. Mm-hmm. There are millions of people out there, and I want to create a platform in which will enable them to share their stories, in the hopes that somebody listening, it will help at least one person.
Yeah.
So firstly, thank you very much, because I know there'll be somebody listening that maybe has gone through something similar or is going through something similar. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I knew you were going to get me in tears, and you did. But for somebody listening that's in their lowest moment, in their darkest place, what would you say to them?
Oh, that's so hard. The first thing I would want to say is know you're loved. So I don't think I can make more sense of that, like in the time that we've got. When you're in that hole, hopefully, I'm going to answer it directly the way that you asked it. If somebody's watching this, right, you and I are both sat here today because we care about whoever you are that's listening to this. We care. And so you are loved. And I think this, a phrase that I picked up quite a long time ago, which is, we all have different gifts, but we all have equal worth. I don't think there is anything special about me. I really do not. I think I am just one person going through life, failing forwards like everybody else. I feel like I've been blessed in many ways to, grow up in the place where I did, with the influences that I had and all of those sorts of things. Yeah, that's fortunate. But I could tell the story a different way. I could go, oh, my life was so hard. I could do that. It's not the way that I choose to be. But if somebody's watching this, and the whole reason Tom and I are sat here right now talking about this is because of you. So I don't know, I've never quite seen anybody do this on a podcast, or just go genuinely, whoever hears this, if it's resonating with you, me and Tom are sat here because of you. And then to say, right, it's not easy to reach out for help. I think if you're in a really difficult situation, but if you can do it, it may be. I work quite a lot with men, not exclusively with men. I think for men it can be a bit tough because we're not necessarily wired to ask for help, and therefore when you do, sometimes people don't react in a way that's that helpful. There's a lot of men who have asked for help and then they get into more trouble. So if that doesn't work, don't worry, we've got more advice. I would say write it down. There's journaling, and you can overthink it, but just write your thoughts down. Just get them out of your head, get them onto a piece of paper. That will give you a little bit more space, a little bit more room to breathe. And then get yourself out for a walk. Get yourself outside. Or if that's too much, just get yourself out of bed. What's the next step? What's the next action you can take to make yourself feel slightly better? And then just stack as many of those as you can. And one day you'll go, oh, okay, I feel like I'm coming out of this. I feel like I'm starting to come out of this. And then you're in the foothills of wherever you want to go. I don't know. I felt like it was a bit of a waffle.
No. I think it was perfect, mate. I think I say something very similar to people that come to me and say that when they're struggling. Mm-hmm. And I say, for anyone listening that is in a dark place, I hope that what I'm going to say gives you hope.
Yeah.
And I think that when you are in a dark place, the thought of feeling normal or the thought of feeling okay feels so far away and feels so unrealistic and so unachievable. And the thought of trying, you don't even bother.
Yeah.
And for me, it comes back to don't focus so far ahead in the future, because it's only going to make you anxious.
Yeah.
If you're in that headspace, just focus on the here and now. Mm-hmm. The very second that you're in, what is one thing that's in your control that will move you one step closer to feeling how you want to feel? Like you said, is that going outside for a walk? Mm-hmm. For most people, 99% of people, that's very much in your control. Mm-hmm. Is getting a piece of paper out and a pen, writing down 5 things that you're grateful for. Very much in your control.
Yeah.
Is it going downstairs rather than getting a pot noodle out the cupboard, although I am a fan of pot noodles?
Yeah, me too.
Is it, creating something from scratch?
Yeah.
A healthy meal, nutritional, that's going to make you feel good, but the process of making it will also make you feel good.
Yeah.
You know, there is so many things that are in our control in this very moment that will make us feel better, and it will move the needle forward. And again, it's just repetition, consistency, one foot in front of the other, 1% better, one day after day, week after week. Don't focus so far ahead in the future.
Yeah.
Just focus on the here and now.
I've thought of one additional thing as well, is to be kind to yourself. That inner voice can be really loud. It can be telling you that you're, you know, useless or worthless, or you're never gonna, you know, blah blah blah. That inner critic can be so loud, and I've been in that place. You know, I've been like, fortunately not suffered for too long with it, but you know, diagnosed with clinical depression in my 20s and things like that. And I got into meditation and breath work and stuff. It doesn't matter. It does matter. It's useful, but be kind. Like, I mess up 10, 20, 30 times a day. You know, I say the wrong thing. I forget things. I mess up, but I try not to say to myself that makes me, you know, useless or forgetful. I just say, oh, I made a mistake. How do I make it better?
Makes you human.
It just makes you human. We're just constantly making mistakes. Like, nobody has it figured out. So if, you know, you maybe, you know, just to pick the pot noodle thing, maybe you go downstairs and you do make yourself a nice meal, and then later in the day, you know, you're still feeling down and you get a giant dairy milk and you eat it, right? Okay, we've all been there. We've all done that. Don't hate on yourself. Just go, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try, and, you know, I'll make myself some eggs, and I'll try and avoid that dairy milk or whatever it is, you know, whatever your thing is. Just, you know, that is also being 1% better. Also, you know, it's avoiding doing the bad things and, you know, slowly getting rid of them. That's also being great. So anything you can do, well done. Just do it, and then try and do another one.
I think the common theme is that we need to actually take action.
Yeah.
And this is
so true.
Something that I speak a lot about is, you know, conversations are great. Speaking about the problem, you know, getting that weight off your chest is super necessary, but it means nothing without action.
Yeah.
You've got to take action.
Yeah.
So, and again, don't get me wrong, I've been there, and I know you have as well. If you are in a dark place, if you are somebody that wants to take your own life, the thought of getting out of bed in the morning feels so impossible. I get it.
Yeah.
But equally, you have to take that first step.
Yeah.
And if you are in bed and you can't physically feel like you get out, just roll over, put 2 feet on the ground and lift yourself up.
Yeah.
Put one step in front of the other and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Because words are great, but without action, they mean nothing.
Yeah. It reminded me, you know, Rich Roll, the podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, be overtaking him in a couple of years, but I'm a big fan of his. He's got a phrase which is mood follows action. And I think that is so true. It just reminded me when you said that, like, talking, as you say, is great, and thinking about things or watching a podcast or blah, blah, all those things are great, but it only changes with action. That's all you could do. You make a little dint in the universe, and the universe, like, looks back at you. There's something, again, I pick up these phrases from time to time, which is the mirror. If you look in a mirror, it's actually delayed in time what you see back. Your reflection, you know, we don't experience it as that, but it is really, isn't it? So the mirror reflects back to you what you put in the mirror. So you have control over that to some extent. If you look in the mirror and you smile, you're saying, I'm smiling. And we think we look in the mirror and we see something that is kind of, we can't do anything about. That's just who I am. But actually, if you change yourself, the mirror responds. And that's kind of how, like, the universe works. It sounds a little bit spiritual, but you take action, you make a little dent in the universe, and it responds. And you do another one. And then those actions get a little bit bigger, or they last a bit longer.
Yeah. The other thing as well about taking action is that people wait for motivation to take action. Now, motivation comes and goes. It's about being disciplined.
Yeah.
But ways in which you can increase motivation is by doing the thing.
Yeah.
Now, tell me if I'm right. You feel most motivated and most productive after you've just done a workout.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like when you, and again, let's reverse engineer it back. If you are somebody that's never been to the gym before, doesn't really exercise, doesn't, really take care of their physical health, but you want to start, which is great, then don't set yourself unrealistic expectations. Again, if you are somebody that's watching this and you want to start running, and the goal for January is that you want to run a 5K, do not, whatever you do, set yourself the goal of running a 5K every day in January, because it will probably not happen.
Yeah.
Set yourself the goal of January 1st, run a mile, walk a mile.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't do anything else.
Yeah.
And rather than running every day, just set yourself the goal of running 2 to 3 times a week for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Do a mile, run, walk. Second, mile and a half, run, walk. Second, third, run, mile and a half.
Yeah.
What you'll find is that, say, I'm going to run to the end of the road and then take a little break, and then I'm going to run again. Rather than saying I'm going to run the full mile,
Yeah.
and then getting halfway through and been absolutely fucked and not been able to do it, just take monumental steps, like little steps.
Yeah.
And you'll find that by getting to the end of the road, you think, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
You get a little boost in motivation,
Yeah.
a little boost in endorphins, a little boost in dopamine. And then you do it again, you get to the end of the next road, and the next road, and the next road. If you break it down into small steps, every time you achieve that small step of that long-term goal, you will get an increase of motivation.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, maybe by the end of the second week or the third week, you will be running a 5K.
Yeah.
But you won't have the problem of, feeling like you failed and feeling like it's not worth trying because you built up to it.
Yeah.
You didn't have unrealistic expectations. And the reason in why we become unhappy is from unmet expectations.
Yeah. It's that gap between expectation and the current situation. A little bit of Buddhist theory coming from you there, Tom.
Is it?
Well, yeah.
Channeling my inner Buddha.
So suffering is caused by craving and avoidance. So if I think it's one of the 4 noble truths. God, I've gone a bit deep here, haven't I? But
I'm all for it, man. Keep it going.
But it's that idea that if you want something you don't have, that causes suffering. And avoiding doing things or avoiding saying things causes suffering. When you play all of your things in your life through that, actually you find it's really, really true. Like, I'm avoiding doing stuff that's making me unhappy. I'm wishing I had a situation that I don't have that's making me unhappy. So it's the wishing, it's the craving, and it's the avoiding that's making you unhappy. It's not the fact that you don't have the thing, it's the fact that you're wishing you had the thing that's the problem. So you can either say, well, okay, I will find a way to achieve that thing, but don't think you're going to be happy then. Happy in the pursuit would be better. And then you just work towards those things is a much healthier way of thinking about it.
Have you heard the saying of a person's level of happiness is the difference between what they actually have and envy?
I don't think I've heard that, no. I think that makes sense though, yeah.
And don't you think that or in my opinion, one of the reasons why so many people struggle with their mental health is because if you think about the world today, objectively, we've never been better off, but subjectively, we've never been more miserable.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? Because you've got like all that stuff on Instagram and everybody's perfect and they're showing you a curated version of their lives.
Literally.
And you can easily compare yourself to that.
Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of joy. That's quite a well-known phrase, isn't it?
But there's like you've just said it, there's this like big circle of life, and what are we all searching for? Ultimately, we want to feel content, fulfilled, and genuinely happy most of the time in our day to day.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, especially in Western society, we're caught in the rat race of going to a job that we hate every day for 5 days a week and wishing that on Monday it was Friday.
Yeah.
Wishing away 5 days of the week for just 2 days of peace.
Yeah.
And
a crazy way to live.
That combined with having a cold shower, a warm house, a roof over your head, clothes on your back, food on the table, clean water, the things that we take for granted every single day.
Yeah.
That 100 years ago we didn't have.
Yeah.
We're literally living like kings with everything that we have in today's society. Objectively, we have never been better off. But subjectively, we've never been more miserable, because we are looking at everybody else's lives. The more that, as much as I do like to use AI to make my life a bit easier, the more that AI is integrated, the more social media adapts, the more that people live their life online, constantly comparing themselves to other people.
Yeah.
The more miserable people will become.
Absolutely true. It's funny, obviously I'm not a PT or anything like that. I don't do that. But whenever I work with people, I will always ask them, like, what are you doing physically? What are you physically doing? How are you getting outdoors? Like, where do you do that? And I think particularly for men, there's a lot of research that says we have more muscle mass in general, whether you work out or you don't. Just compared to women, we have a bit more muscle, and therefore, and that has a role to play in hormone regulation and mood and things like that. So, if you can move your body, you will feel better. So we're back to that like mood follows action thing again, but on a physical level. But unfortunately, all of these tools are so addictive, and I, I'm guilty of it. I like mucked around on Instagram last night for way too long. Yeah. But here's what I do: is like I find myself, I'm like doing that, and then at some point I go, "What are you doing?" Oh, I'm just wasting my life again. But I don't then go, "Oh, you're useless, you're terrible." What I go, "Oh, caught myself again." Put it away, and it'll catch me again tomorrow.
I find myself doing that, and then immediately I'll put my phone in a different room.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I just leave it.
Sometimes I'm like, I just throw it over the side of the room. But it's true though, isn't it?
Yeah. I thought of something that when you were talking a couple of minutes ago about when people are, if they want to start like changing and, getting themselves out of a situation, something that I've found really useful is what they call an identity goal. And so let's say you want to do the 5K thing. You, instead of saying, or as well as saying, right, I'm going to do this progressive plan, I'm going to do a little bit every day. And then what you can do in habits is really good, is to just try and, I've used this phrase a few times, like stack as many days as you can. But if you miss one, just don't miss the second, right? And that is so much more attainable, but you still call it a streak. You say, I've been doing it for a month. I've done it every day. You missed a couple of days. That's okay. It still counts as every day because you never missed two. That's okay. But then on the running thing, instead of, or an additional thing is to say, I am someone who runs. Say that to yourself, right? And I've done that with going to the gym, because it's like a fairly new thing to me, is I was going not that consistently. And this is before like working with a PT, and I was like I was in and I was out, and then I might miss a week, and then and there wasn't much pattern to it. And then I said to myself, but I really would like to do this, So I just said to myself, I am someone who trains, right? And I repeat that phrase to me, I am someone who trains, and that the maybe 15 times in the last year I've thought, I really can't be bothered. I'm not going to go. I had something programmed, I was due to go, or it was in my calendar and I'm going to go. I can't be bothered. And then my brain from somewhere has gone, I'm someone who trains. Like, well, somebody who trains. So I've gone, I've gone and done it. And I think that it's called an identity goal. So I am someone who ... is super powerful.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that, because I'm doing, I talked about my goals before, about doing 2 long form pieces of content for YouTube. And the video that we're doing today is all around setting goals for the new year, but it's not just setting goals, it's setting goals, systems, habits, and having an identity.
Yeah.
And it's so true in what you say.
Yeah.
If you attach an identity, rather than setting a goal, having an identity.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, I want to run 3 times a week, just saying, I'm a runner that's going to run 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, I don't know, you might know more than me on this, being somebody that's been in a leadership position for so long, or was before you started coaching. It was about giving praise to your team and your colleagues, rather than saying, if somebody did something that was kind, saying, that was kind, saying, you're a very kind person.
Yeah.
Attaching the identity to the compliment,
Yeah.
rather than saying it's something that you do, it's something that you are,
Yeah.
reinforces that's their identity, and then makes them do more of that thing, which I found really interesting.
Do you know what? I would actually slightly disagree.
Okay, go on.
And it comes down to the phrasing, because this identity thing is interesting, because you don't want your identity to be too locked in to something that could vary. Okay.
Right.
So if you say, let's go to the training thing. If I said to myself, I am a weightlifter, right? Then I've made being a weightlifter part of how I define who I am, right? And that is useful. It's kind of helpful. But if I say I am someone who trains, then I am talking about a regular action that, by implication means I am lifting weights, but it's a regular action rather than saying I am a weightlifter. Because then down the line, let's say I get an injury, right? And I do my shoulder and I can't lift weights. Oh, I've lost my identity. It's gone, right? It's disappeared. And that's part of what leads people to work with me in the middle part of life, is that they've created all these labels for themselves. I am this, I am that, I am the other. And then they're not happy. And they're like, but I'm all these things. I had one guy who worked with me who, I really have to disguise this one carefully. He'd, similar to you, mate, he'd been a really successful athlete when he was younger. And then he was about 35, 36, I think. And he was still doing that sport, but not at the level that he had before. But he was in a club and he would do it, and he was really pushing himself. And he started on my program, and he quickly came to me and said, I've got to talk to you straight away, because we do one-to-ones as well. And he was like, I've realized all my life I've been telling myself that I am this thing, this version of being an athlete, but I'm not. And it was like a massive relief to him that he could go, oh, I could do the sport because I like it, but I don't have to attach my whole identity to it. I can do other things. I'm more complex than that. I'm more nuanced than that. But just to bring that back to what you said about the leadership thing, I'm not 100% an expert on this, but this is the way that I used to do it, would be to say, would actually to do the version of it that you said first, which is, that was so kind. I really noticed how kind you were there, right? Not you are a kind person.
Okay.
Because if you say you're a kind person, then potentially because of the status that you've got, you're then saying to that person, well, I get Tom's approval by being kind. Now, obviously, that is something that you want. That's okay. However, they could potentially over time just spend all their time being kind and not being productive. And actually what you want them to do is be productive in a kind way. So reward the action. Say you noticed it. That's a really powerful thing to do, but I would hesitate to say you are a kind person, just in case they attach a bit too much meaning to that. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. No, I'll take that on board from my own role within OSI, being in that leadership position. So no, I appreciate that. Thank you. You said something interesting earlier about comparison as the thief of joy, and I remembered what you said about your car.
Yeah, I packed it next to your Paul.
It was just interesting what you said, because you obviously are doing really well now with your coaching, but you don't care about the car that you drive. Now, I say this, and I'm probably going to sound a bit stupid. I don't, but do care about the car that I drive. Hence the fact that I've got a Porsche. It's electric, so you get the tax write-off. That's one of the reasons why I bought it. But I do like cars. I do like cars. I've always liked cars. But I'm not sat here thinking, I want the next model, or I want a new car, or stuff like that. There is 100% truth in the fact that when you buy something, the novelty only lasts so long. But what you're saying is that like how do people get out of trying to buy shit for other people just to impress them, like keeping up with the Joneses?
Yeah. God, yeah, I'm not sure you ever really can. And some of it comes down to understanding status games and how we all play them. So there's this theory that we're all playing status games all the time. So you walk into a room and you're going, right, how do I fit in around here? Okay. And you can play three main games. One is a competence game, like I am better at X or Y, or I'm more knowledgeable or whatever. One is a virtue game, like I'm a better person than you, better person, but I do things that make me virtuous and therefore I have status.
Yeah.
Or there's like more like just a pure power thing. Like I've got more money, I've got more stuff, I've got more whatever, and you can flex with that. And we all do it all the time, and we're all like trying to judge, like da. So, but if you understand yourself and those games, and you go, well, okay, which ones am I naturally kind of okay at, or at this point in my life I could play that game? Then you start to notice it in yourself, and you're like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm like trying to keep up with these people, and I'm playing a status game which is around money. I'm playing that game, and therefore I can signal that I'm doing well with a nice car or a nice watch or nice clothes, or some Instagram shots of a nice holiday or whatever. You can signal that game working really well. But the problem is there's always going to be somebody that's got more, and so that game falls down at some point, because like you could keep getting more and more money, but at some point Elon Musk has still got more money than you. Do you know what I mean? So if you're saying to yourself, my status is dependent on that, then you've got a problem, because you're never going to win. And then you get the virtue game, where people are like, well, you see quite a lot of that with people who they might start on, I really care about the environment. Brilliant, there's nothing wrong with that. It's cool. You've got a green car, not just for the tax write-off. But I really care about the environment. Okay, well, now I have to care about this issue, and now I have to care about that issue. And you can end up in this spiral of virtue signaling that gets ridiculous, to the point at which you don't actually believe the things anymore, but that's the game you're playing. And there's always somebody more virtuous than you. There's a priest, or there's somebody, whatever. And so if you just understand that, and you go, well, I am wired to maybe care a little bit about more one game than another, then you can just soften it a bit. You can dampen it down. So like at this point, my business is doing really well. I could afford a nicer car, right? I really could. And one day I will go and get myself one. But part of the reason that I don't do it is because then in some way, subconsciously, I'd be playing a different game. And the game would be one that I'm going to lose, because, I am really ambitious for my business. I want to grow, I want to help loads of people. But I'm never going to be Tony Robbins, right? Who's got $1 billion and he's been at this for 40 years or whatever. So if I go down that route in my own mind and go, well, I'm losing every single day. I'm always a loser. So I just try and keep it in check that way and go, okay, there's nothing wrong with nice things. There's nothing wrong with caring about, virtuous things. There's nothing wrong with getting a bit of status so you can look after your family. Those things are all good, but don't go too far with them. And the solution to all of that is actually be kind and be competent. Just show up, be good at what you do, work hard at it, and be kind to other people. And if you do that, all the people playing the other games will like you, which actually helps you to win the games. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. No, I think you're 100% right. And it's like, comes back to understanding what are your core values as a person.
Yeah.
And for me, the first one is always be kind.
Yeah. Why not? People, we're all just struggling through life. So just be nice.
Be kind. Yeah, you don't know what somebody else is going through.
You really don't.
No. Don't be kind. Mm-hmm. Work hard.
Yeah.
Do to others what you would want to do to yourself, which is obviously similar to being kind.
Yeah.
And don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, is it? Try not to be a dick.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And it's interesting what you said about the status game. So I went to Dubai for my 30th, and I love Dubai. Mm-hmm. but obviously that is the ultimate status game in Dubai. And I love Dubai for a lot of reasons, but one thing I don't like about Dubai sometimes is the level of entitlement that you find with quite a few people over there. And I found it a lot more this time that I went. I don't know why. Like, for me, manners are everything. And I've always been brought up with manners. And I just think that no matter who you are, how much money you've got, what status you've got, like, it doesn't cost anything to say please and thank you. And I just noticed it a lot more this time. And it's like Dubai is great because there's a lot of people doing incredible things and, you know, achieving a lot, and it's very entrepreneurial, and I love that side of it. But for me, and it came back to what you said earlier about, you know, why do you think I'm humble? And it's my environment. And it's just one thing that, like, no matter the level of status that you have or the amount of money that you earn, I would hate to see somebody lose that side, you know, empathy, being kind, manners. And I did saw it a little bit more this time in Dubai, and I go quite frequently. And it's just like, don't lose that side of it because of, like, this level of status and this level of money that you've achieved. Like, just be a good human being and just fucking say please and thank you. It's not hard.
Why not? That's really interesting. That. So I've not been to Dubai, and to be honest, I'm not that interested in going.
It's not everyone's cup of tea.
I haven't got enough 24/7 clothes in my wardrobe.
There is a represent shop, I think. Somewhere.
Mind you, I'm a coach yet. You should just add yet to the end of everything. You're like, okay. But no, it's interesting because it's become such a symbolic thing about a certain kind of status, hasn't it? And I watch some of the people that, I mean, obviously it looks like a cool place and the sun shines and, like, you know, I'm sure the food's great and all of that kind of thing. So I'm not shitting on Dubai at all. But the fact that there are quite a lot of influence people that are playing that kind of status game is really interesting because it's become representative of just one narrow slither of what it is to be a meaningful human. It's just a very, very niche bit, but it's a very loud bit online. So I think
that's why I don't think I could live there. A few reasons why I won't want to move from where I am, but that's one of the reasons. I'll just But I'm going to finish with some quick fire questions.
Okay.
Just a quick one. Most of you watching this episode aren't yet subscribed. So if you want your weekly motivation from some incredible guests, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn your notifications on.
What's the most underrated skill for career growth?
Oh, most underrated career growth. Working hard. I could elaborate if you want, but the reason I say that is I underestimated that myself for a lot of my career. I mistook balance, you know. I have a real problem these days with the idea of work-life balance, which won't surprise you because you and I sat here on a Sunday. The three of us are sat here on a Sunday. Because we get this thing where we go, well, you've got work and then you've got family, friends, you know, bills to pay, holidays, blah, 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 blah. And somehow all of this is supposed to balance that. But it also says that this isn't part of that. And if you love what you do, like, why would you separate it? But I made that mistake for a long time in my life. Like, I had a good career, but I never really worked at it. I didn't push myself. And partly that's, I guess, back to the ikigai thing. I didn't have enough passion for it. But yeah, work hard. There's nothing wrong with working hard, and I wish I'd learnt that a bit younger. I think Amy wishes I'd learnt that a bit younger as well, but I really thank her a lot because she's somebody that really pushes you to be the best version of yourself. So that's cool. Yeah, working hard.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're always, don't get me wrong, we have to work smarter, not harder, but work harder at the thing that's smarter.
Yeah. That's the bit. You're absolutely bang on there because I had that phrase work smarter, not harder in my head for a long time, and I got it wrong because work hard but do it smart.
I think we're always trying to find the things that are smarter. We're trying to find the next thing that's going to make us more productive and
Yeah.
do the thing easier and more cost effective, etc., etc. But while doing that,
Yeah.
we're not actually doing the work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. You clip that one up.
What's one habit everyone can implement today that will have a life-changing effect?
One habit. God, that is such a hard question to answer. I would say, I think, I'm just going to repeat myself a little bit. If you've decided you want to do something, you've just got to stack loads of little improvements, just stack one in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, just keep going, keep going, keep going. But it's that thing of, if you miss one, don't worry, just don't miss two. I've found that is super helpful with all sorts of habits. So, sort of answered your question.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. What's one belief that you had to unlearn?
God, so many of them. I'm always unlearning things. That I don't deserve to be successful. I come from like a nice family, humble-ish, okay, like lower middle class background in a nice town in North Yorkshire. Had a nice upbringing, but there was not a lot of ambition around. And when you grow up like that, there's kind of a bit of a phrase, don't get an idea above your station. And I've held myself back a lot. And I think this is in my mind because it's one of the most recent ones that I've unlearned. Is like, no, actually, I'm allowed to achieve my potential, and my potential is a hell of a lot more than where I am right now. And that's just really expanded my ability to do stuff.
Love that.
This podcast is fueled by Prep. Prep is a nutrition-first meal prep company that allows me to have high-quality meals without spending hours in the kitchen. As a business owner that prioritizes their health and fitness, Prep allows me to hit my goals for the day without sacrificing loads of time. My personal favorite is the Cajun salmon, but if that's not for you, then there is plenty of other options as well, including vegetarian and halal. And the best part, you get 10% off your order when you use the code TOM10 at the checkout. That's TOM10 at prepuk.com.
Last question. How old were you when your wife died?
I was 41, I think. I'm bad at dates, but around about that.
So going back to 41-year-old Stephen, and you're in your garden looking at the house, thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah.
If you could go back to him on that day, in that moment, what would you say to him?
You'll be all right, mate. Yeah, definitely would. You know, it's a funny thing though. You asked me that question. I am the same person. I am exactly the same. I don't feel like. So that the reason why I think that thought came to me about that particular moment was I was so me in that moment, like absolutely me. And I think I said that I felt like that voice came from somewhere else, came up through the floor. Genuinely, that's how I experienced it. Came up from the earth into me. That thought that I'm damned if I'm going to let this get the better of me. That is what I am actually like. And so I believed in myself just the same then. There's a massive difference in all sorts of other ways. Like I had a buzzing energy, you know, like stress. I can, if I take myself back to that moment, just the fizzing in my body, the pain and the fear and all of that stuff was very, very, very real at that point. And obviously my circumstances financially and, you know, being alone and all of that were very different, but the core of me is exactly the same. So yeah, just keep going, mate. You'll be all right.